Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to this special edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, and today we'll spend a little time with City Manager Mark Rohloff to reflect on his 16 years with the City of Oshkosh, looking at some of his major accomplishments, his thoughts on his tenure as City Manager, and we'll have some video highlights from the past 16 years. Mark, this is a very special program. This is actually the 667th edition of the City Manager's Report. And, what are your thoughts on the value of recording this program?
Well, just for the record, I haven't done all 667. This is something that Oshkosh Media has been doing for a number of years, and I was happy to share this show with the community to tell the story about things that we were doing. And I think it's evolved in many ways. When we first started the show, it was exclusively on cable TV. But cable TV has changed a lot. The word streaming, I think, meant you were in the water, paddling. Now it means something totally different. So I think the value of doing it twice a month, primarily the idea was to give the public an idea of what's going on at the upcoming council meeting. But we evolved over that time. And I remember the first time I came in to do the show, I was like, I'm not going to talk about the minutes of the last meeting or the register of bills or something like that. It's like, let's talk about things that the public's going to be interested in, and things that I'm interested in that I want the public to know about. So I remember that first time I was like, no, we're not doing this. So I don't know. I mean, you've been here through most of these shows as well, Andy.
That's right. And, to help jog our memory through looking back on this a little bit, let's look back at some clips of the show since 2008 when you came on board.
As far as I'm concerned, I think this is the best city management job in the state. It's nice to have such a diverse community, having the university here, just a good mix of people, good quality of life. Even though we're going to have a pond there, we haven't lost the recreational advantages that a big field like this offers. So it really was a win-win for the school district and for the city. It's something, frankly, I'm very proud of. This shows you just the massiveness of the project. I mean, look at all the scaffolding there. Yeah. We needed to secure the entire ceiling, and that just shows you how grand, no pun intended, the work was. And the last slide, I think, is probably the most dramatic. That is not supposed to be bowed the way you see it there. That's why it was so dangerous, and that's why we needed to shore that up so we can remove that. Some of the file footage you're going to see, I don't even think just does justice to it, because being there and being so close to the ceiling that I will never in my lifetime ever be able to see is up close again. There's the ribbon cutting. A lot of supporters of the Grand that were there, and it's nice to have it done, and it's great to see the Grand has their programs back up and running, and there's going to be a big event that it's a fundraiser for the United Way. Oh man, that's really good.
We found a picture from your younger days.
Yeah,
there.
Much younger days. Yeah, it's still probably my son's Fisher-Price basketball hoop. Yes, Oshkosh North High School. Oh man, you guys.
How can we forget the cover of Sports Illustrated that you graced?
I didn't realize I went to Indiana though. I thought I went to Kansas. Oh, I owe you guys a big one. It's a great fundraiser, and I think people are going to have some fun at my expense, as Dean and the staff have already done. I'm not doing any Joe Namath guarantees of any victories. If I make it out of there without breaking a leg, I think I'll be happy. The purpose of the roundabouts is to minimize the number of injury accidents. You can't put a price on a life. You can put a price on a dented fender, but the severity of the accidents are down, the injuries are down, and I think that says a lot about it. The Department of Natural Resources has given the city and the Community Foundation an Urban Forestry Award, and this is to recognize the public-private partnership that's been created by this program between the city and the Community Foundation. And the idea is to say, look, we think this is really innovative what you're proposing to do. If I didn't do something like this, the community would come out and there's me and my Aaron Rodgers jersey and Ted Thompson.
Yes.
And so we're going to be doing something like that, having the green and gold on Friday. I will disclose that we do have some black and yellow fans in there, and I am not one of those people. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I hate the Steelers, so we're going to do a little bit of a food drive, a mini food drive to benefit the Oshkosh Food Pantry. Nationwide viewing, but here we had a dead heat tie, 5,490 to 5,490, and Mr. Peck drew the Queen of Spades, and Mr. Hall drew the Three of Spades, and you can see the civility with which they both dealt with this. I think it speaks well for the whole community.
Now, any parameters on this program, Mr. Rohloff?
Well, my first question is, how did you get me to do these pictures? Sometimes I don't know how you guys
You're
talk
pondering
me.
a question already.
Yeah, that's my thoughtful look. Oh, boy. Well, a couple things. Number one, it needs to relate to city business. I'm a city manager. I'm not a Dear Abby, so if you have relationship issues, I'm not the guy you want to talk to. And this is over by Marion Road, where that new senior housing complex is going in, and where we hope to have some additional commercial and office development at some point in the future. A little bit of progress every year, and you go away from Oshkosh for a few years and come back, and boom, you're going to see a very noticeable Riverwalk that the whole community is going to be able to join and enjoy. And I think that's one of the coolest parts of all. You really have to enjoy what you're doing, and I just enjoy serving in local government. I could do so many other things, but I just enjoy taking a look at the end of the day and saying, I'm really having some concrete results for my community, and that's a huge part of it.
Well, we had a lot of clips there from different things, and what I see are several accomplishments that happened over the years. And Mark, is there anything that you're the most proud of over the years?
Well, if you look at the picture, the fact that I lost some weight is really helpful. So I'm happy about that, although it came at the expense of my hair. It got grayer and not as thick as it used to be. But I'm sure that wasn't your question. I've been asked that question a lot over the last couple months, and I think people are expecting me to talk about a specific, physical type of project. And while I can talk about some of those, and we talked about those in some of the videos, but what we didn't talk about, because it wasn't really a good city manager report discussion, because we like to have nice videos and all that stuff, but it's really our strategic plan, because what that did is it gave us focus to do things. So it led to these accomplishments, some of the ones that you just showed amongst many others, but this is our strategic plan, and the beauty of this graphic is this graphic itself has effectively remained unchanged. Now that may think people, well, it's static. No, that means it's endured. So this is the one that the council just approved last spring for 2025-2026. We get the strategic plan done before we start the budget process, so the departments know this is our new focus.
Right.
Now, even though this graphic has effectively remained the same, the details and how you fill in the blanks for quality of life and public safety and infrastructure and strong neighborhoods and economic development are all going to change, and more so in an evolutionary fashion rather than just these drastic changes. And it's the guiding principles where we talked about can-do attitudes and inclusivity and accountability. Those things remain. And so then I can get into accomplishments, and you show a ribbon cutting in here and there, and certainly those are sort of the icing on the cake type of thing. And certainly the Riverwalk was one, and you guys covered that many times over the years.
All the different sections of it.
All the different sections, because we strategically got grants so that we could get enough approved in a grant so it minimized our own taxpayers paying for it. And we had a run of 8 straight years that we got a grant. That is virtually unprecedented, but we doggedly pursued those grants, and we knew how to write grants so that we'd win the grant. And sometimes they said, well, we can't do as much this year because if we get too greedy and ask for too much, we won't get it. So we kind of got into the sweet spot, and we had an 8-year run. And then they said, hey, Oshkosh, wait a minute, you got this 8 years in a row, but we got 8 years of Riverwalk. That project built confidence that we could get things done, and we weren't having that level of confidence. So I can talk about the physical Riverwalk, But without the confidence, we couldn't get it done. When I got here, stormwater. I always said, the floodgates opened literally the day after the council appointed me, and I still had 2 months before I started. But when I got here, it was like everybody was in the doldrums because it's like we've been flooded, our basement's been ruined, and I got my water heater's gone, my washer's gone.
Talk about a challenge when you're starting.
Oh, absolutely. And I could tell immediately that it's like, well, let's do this. No, let's do this. And it was almost like squirrel. The strategic plan helped give us focus. And it's like, well, I don't know if we should do this. And there was always this hesitancy. It's like, what did we say we were going to do? And it was like, we've got this strategic plan, and it says infrastructure. And in the details, you read down a couple lines, and it says, get your stormwater projects done. Sawyer Creek's the largest. We had so much work to do in Sawyer Creek. What are we talking about? Start with one. The minute we got one done, it built the confidence that said, we can do this. And slowly we started to make progress. So then when it came to doing things for economic development, some really tough decisions. The Oshkosh Corp project was a very controversial issue. Right. But it was like, where are we going? Where do we want to be? Where do we want to be in 10, 20 years? And it was the right thing to do. There are people to this day that still disagree with that decision. And I just respectfully disagree, but I hope that even with today's discussion about the new Sawyer Oshkosh Avenue intersection, or we're talking about the Grand, it's like we did that in desperation. We had to fix that roof in 2010. In 2024, we're like, we have a vision for where we want to see the Grand go. We're proactive about this stuff. And the fact that we're proactive says that we've got the confidence to get it done. We got a plan to get it done, so we will get it done. So that's the type of stuff that I think has been really helpful.
Sure. And would you say the strategic plan is an initiative that you would like to see continued after your departure?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the council's very committed to it. And when you take a look at our annual, top 10 shows, you'll see those accomplishments that are rooted in the strategic plan. So I think you're going to continue to see that, because as long as you use the strategic plan as your North Star, you know where you're going. And I think that'll be great for the community.
Sure, I agree. Well, you mentioned the top 10 shows, and actually we have several clips from some of those shows, the number ones from several years. And let's take a look at those clips.
So without further ado, we go on to number one. And I'm sure
drum roll, please.
People may debate this, but number one is stormwater management.
That's something that really the community said it was number one, because 2 years ago when we had the floods in 2008 and we knew we needed to do something.
What we believe is the top project that we have completed here in 2015, and that is the Public Works Field Operations Facility, of course.
We're very happy to have the Public Works Field Operations Facility done.
Yes, and it's open and it's being used right now.
It's actually all the Public Works employees who were supposed to be there are in there.
Number one of the top 10 of 2017 on City Manager's Report is Menominee Nation Arena revitalizes the South Side. Are you surprised by this number one, Mark?
Not at all, given the fact that I think I said, look for this next year, because last year it was getting rid of the Buckstaff property, and in March this was what it looked like. And then over the course of the spring, summer, and fall, you saw this magical restoration of a former site. It's our transload facility, which is going to unleash wonderful economic opportunity for our community. So this is the first publicly owned transload facility of its kind in the state of Wisconsin.
The number one item on our 2019 CMR list is the Oshkosh Corporation completes their global headquarters.
It's going to yield a lot of economic activity in the future as it grows. We couldn't just say Sawdust District or Marion Road. It's really all of these things that have started to blossom at the same time. This is a long overdue item, because when I hired Parks Director Ray Maurer back in 2010, I said, we're going to be working on a new facility for you. And it only took 13 years for me to keep my promise to Ray Maurer.
Well, again, we've seen a lot of accomplishments in those clips. And what do you feel about the state of the city since you first started your position?
Oh, I think a lot of things have improved. I was talking with somebody who was, hey, before you go, I want to talk to you and everything. And they were talking about a lot of things we've been, highlighting here. Mm-hmm. And I think it has improved a great deal. I think that, I've talked about the confidence level that we can get things done and we can continue to get things done. So I did the annual State of the City, every year, and I said, the state of the city's good. And you're supposed to say the state of the city's good. But, but the state of the city has improved. And we've gotten things done. And I think the public, I think, has a greater faith in what we're doing, and I hope they do. And when I'm not on this side of the table and I'm out in the audience, the city is still working towards those things. And I'm not going to be paid to say that. I'm going to believe it because I know that we're making great progress. And I'd say keep your optimism. Sometimes I think we get a little down in the dumps. I think we're a little hard on ourselves. And it's like, why? I had a friend come visit me from Colorado. It was like, I can't believe all the water you have. Yeah. And it was like, no, nobody knows this stuff except us. Yeah. Now somebody says, well, don't tell them because then they might come and ruin it for us. But the reality is we have so much to be happy about. I moved here with my family because this is a great place to raise a family. It's still a great place to raise a family, and I got a little secret. It always was a great place, so it'll continue to be a great place, but having that optimism and not being so down in the dumps, we got to work on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And hopefully the stuff we're talking about here will help people realize that, we got a lot to be pleased about here.
And Oshkosh has a bright future.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're talking about things that have happened, and what do you hope that your legacy will be for the city and for its residents?
Well, I think it's an issue of a legacy being laying the groundwork so that years from now, as other accomplishments happen that will not have my fingerprints on, they'll be because we laid the groundwork so that these things could get done. And I had said that, several years ago at a State of the City. Yeah. A little secret, I hate dealing with railroads. Mm-hmm. They drive me crazy. 30 years ago, our city acquired a lot of those railroads and closed a lot of those out, which was causing a big gummed up area in the downtown. Yeah. And look what getting rid of those railroads did for the downtown. Honestly, Andy, I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know if I would have had the patience. Mm. I've always had just frustrating experiences with railroads. So I salute the people who preceded me that got those things done. So I'm hoping that something that I don't even think about today, that 30 years from now somebody says, boy, that was a really good thing because now we're able to do this. I don't necessarily want to predict what that thing might be, but I hope there are things there that people will be able to look back and it was because of the groundwork we laid. Maybe it'll be the Sawdust District. Maybe it'll be development that occurs along the Riverwalk that we've done. Maybe it'll be more stuff going out on Interstate 41. It could be any or all of those things, but we lay the groundwork and we plant a seed, and then we leave. You don't necessarily see the whole tree grow. Mm-hmm. But we know it'll be there, and we will have had something to do with it, but we won't be able to necessarily enjoy the fruits of all of our labor.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Personally, I'm sure that you've had a lot of memories from your time here as well. I don't know if you might have a memorable story or moment during your time as city manager. I'm sure there's a million that you can choose from.
Well, I won't take credit for the farmers market because I did not like it in City Hall. So I was proposing when the Riverwalk was done. Actually, I said, "Why don't we go down to the river?" Mm-hmm. And then I had some people who suggested, and it was Ray Maurer, and it was actually who's now current council member Chris Larson said, "Why don't we have it on Main Street?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, blah blah blah." And they convinced me, "Hey, this is something to do." And I just personally loved and I still do. I shouldn't say in a past tense. I love going down to the farmer's market. But of course, my wife would always have to build in an extra half hour because after I got whatever was on the list, I'd end up chatting with people. And it would be people maybe I hadn't seen in a long time, especially, older residents who may have gone down to Florida or just hunkered down for the winter, and you see them at the first couple farmers markets in June, and you catch up and they want to talk about things, and it was easily an extra half hour that I had to invest shopping because I just enjoyed doing it and getting feedback about what we're doing right, and every once in a while about things we could do better, honestly. But it was good to have that interaction because you got feedback from people who were, when they first had to recognize me out of uniform, out of the suit and everything. It's like, oh, there's Mark in a jeans and a t-shirt or shorts, and it's like, oh, well, now that I got you, and then I was like, that was the line. Sure. Now that I got you is like, okay, here it comes. But a lot of times it was just very positive stuff. Yeah. I like, we've made great progress on the Riverwalk. We're doing this road. Hey, what's going on down at, Menominee Park or South Park or something? It was wonderful to talk to people and to just be enthusiastic about the community. So that's probably one of my fondest memories that aren't necessarily what happened in the coat and tie.
Right. And I think people have really enjoyed that you're approachable. They see you at the farmer's market. They can chat with you. They can ask you about what's going on with the city. And you've been very open to talking with folks. And I know that they've appreciated that very much. How have you personally grown or changed as a result of your experiences in this role? We all become different versions of ourselves.
Well, it's interesting. I've had wonderful experiences in every place I've worked. I grew more here because of the community. Because in some communities, I was in suburban communities, and suburban communities are great for certain things, but the sense of community isn't as great as I think you have in a city that has a city center, a downtown, cultural destinations, just that social infrastructure that exists. And I really enjoyed that. And as city manager, I learned to tap into those resources to get feedback, to ask for assistance, to tell the story of things. So I really enjoyed that part of my job.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you've always been very open to working with folks and doing citizen engagement at events such as State of the City. And, we work in city government. Sometimes people think it's always very serious and everything, but, we have those lighthearted moments too. And sometimes we pull the curtain behind city government, and State of the City has been one of those opportunities. And so sometimes I think, like at State of the City, we've had some moments where we can kind of showcase our department heads, and I think Rohloff's bunch was one of those. Former department heads.
Yeah, the funny thing is none of those department heads are still here, so that's how long ago we did that one. But I don't know how the heck you guys talked me into doing some of these things, but I think it was sort of to make it more human, that we are just regular folks. And fortunately, I didn't swing my head back and forth like that. That is computer generated. But yeah, once again, it was just to be able to tell the story in a more light-hearted manner. Mm-hmm. And the goofy things you give me, do my little facial expressions and stuff. And boy, thanks for saving those, Andy. I really appreciate it. Jake and Scott, I'm going to get you for these.
Well, and this does provide an opportunity for citizen engagement. And how do you think that relationship between city administration and residents has evolved over time?
Well, it's changed a lot. I remember, like I was saying earlier, the city manager's report was just something on City Cable 10. And that's what we talked about, and maybe on the radio. Mm-hmm. And we were so proud of the radio station. Right. But changing technologies and changing demands as a result of that technology and just trends in general, I think that that is something that we've had to adapt to, and we've had these discussions strategically about, hey, Twitter literally came out the year I started here,
right.
And it was like, how do we tap into this? We just can't let this go by. So I think increasing use of social media, utilizing what we do at Oshkosh Media, and then adapting it to new technologies. Whether it's now we do city manager minutes to get things on social media that we wouldn't have done. Mm-hmm. Not everybody wants to watch a half-hour show. That's just not the thing anymore. Mm-hmm. Even to get them to do like 1/3 of the show, 7.5 minutes is still too much. So we do bite-sized stuff so that people can see it and get a single message across rather than try to get 10 messages across in a half hour. Get one solid message in a segment, and I think the retention is better, and I think it's just more popular with different age groups. I jokingly said I'm really popular with 70-year-old ladies because, like 70-year-old ladies and 64-year-old guys, we still use cable a lot. And it's like my kids say, there is streaming services. You don't have to just watch cable, Dad. And we have to be relevant for other generations, and I think we've done that.
Mm-hmm. I think so. We've tried to adapt, and like you mentioned, over time we have adjusted how we get the message across, and you've been very instrumental in not only allowing us the ability to do that and try a few things, as we saw with the question mark segments, but getting into Twitter and who knows what the latest platform will be next year.
Yeah. I'm not a big social media user. I think I use LinkedIn for business type of things, but I'm not in that. But just because I'm not personally into it doesn't mean others are. And I think it's part of constantly improving our communications, making it more relevant to people. And I think we've done that. And I hate to tell you, Andy, the work's not done. It's going to continuously need improvements. As artificial intelligence becomes more popular and more mainstream, you're going to see us adjusting and in ways that I can't even fathom. But Oshkosh Media, part of their job is to stay up on these things, to say we got to try this. If we want to stay relevant, we got to try this, and that's part of us reaching out to the public to keep them aware and keep them engaged. The Palco app that we have, it's all about public engagement. Whether you fill out the survey or not is really only half of it. It's you learning more about your government and having an opinion and letting your opinion be known. Those are really important things that I think we're always going to have to constantly evolve. Mm-hmm.
Well, citizen engagement has been a priority for you. It's been very important, but also collaborations have been very important for you, and you've been very involved with other organizations in the community.
Oh, they're super important, and we've had some wonderful partners. Mm-hmm. We've got our nonprofit partners like you see here, Community Foundation, Discover Oshkosh, our Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation, which I'm very proud to say, I was one of the people who helped founded that organization, and then the Oshkosh Chamber. All great partners. When the going gets tough, these folks came together and said, how can we help? Or they'd come to me and say, Mark, we need your help, and what can I do to help? That is the essence of collaboration. And so much of the stuff you saw in some of the previous videos, they were collaborations. And I think that needs to continue because we can't do everything, but collectively together, there's so much more we can do. Mm-hmm. And we have other partners. We also have our governmental partners. And on one level or another, we had collaborations with all of these folks, whether it was the Three Waves Clinic or the development of the Culver Center for the University, which improved the Steiger Park down there, the transit system, getting the kids on the buses with the Oshkosh Area School District. Those are just quick examples that I can cite, but we're really happy about those collaborations, and I think we've laid the groundwork to continue those collaborations in the future.
Yeah. Well, do you see any trends or emerging issues for the future that you believe that we should be keeping our eye on?
We are not done with this. We've talked a lot about getting some shared revenue reform, and we did get some, I wouldn't necessarily call it reform, but we got some, a better take on the taxes that are collected at the local level and go to the state and get redistributed. It's a better improvement, but it still needs improvement. The state-local relationship needs to continue to improve, and I think you're going to see more of that. And we need that because we can't just rely, for example, on property taxes. We've got to, we're so reliant on property taxes. And for people on fixed income, and if that's the main asset in their life, that's burdensome, and we need to fix that. I don't enjoy going to council and saying, in order for us to balance the budget, we need to raise property taxes. But there's the old saying, if the only tool you got is a hammer, then every problem's a nail. We need to have more tools in our toolbox, and we got to quit relying on the one hammer that we have that hurts a lot of people.
Take a different approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, a process is underway to hire a new city manager. Mark, what advice would you give to your successor?
Well, there's a couple old sayings that I have. One is, there are three things you need to be a good city manager: thick skin, a strong stomach, and an understanding spouse. And there's a lot of truth to that. But I do like to, what advice do I have for my successor? There is something that I call the 3 envelope story. And I jokingly say, on my first day, I found the 3 envelopes in my drawer. It says, if you get in trouble, open up the envelopes. So I took a peek at these envelopes. And I looked at the first envelope, and it says, blame your predecessor. And then that gets me curious. So I open up the second envelope, and it says, blame your staff. And it's like, wow, what's next with that? So I couldn't resist but open up the third envelope. And it says, make 3 envelopes. And the moral of that story is, don't ever open up the envelopes. Don't blame your predecessor. So whoever takes my place, don't blame me. And don't blame staff, because when you start doing that, you're running out of excuses. You're using excuses. We haven't done everything perfect. We haven't done everything right all the time. You got to own up to it and say, here's what we've learned from it. And with assessing this year, that was a challenge, and we needed to do better. We have to own up to that and just say, we're going to do better. And so, don't be afraid to experiment, and that means you are going to fail. You will fail. So the idea is, how can you improve? And I think that's the advice I would give.
Okay. Well, and similarly, would you have any advice for somebody that is considering a career in local government and maybe not to have envelopes? Yeah.
Well, I still talk about life in the fishbowl. Things are very visible. Many comments made. I saw the city manager do this or that. So you are in the fishbowl. So you got to be careful about that and recognize that. And you're going to be subject to criticism. That's what life in the fishbowl means, because everybody sees what you're doing and you can't escape. So you have to be able to withstand the criticism. But the rewards that I have seen over the years in making my community better and more resilient and better equipped for the future, those are the levels. That's when I'm so satisfied, and that's what I would tell people. The rewards you're going to get for what you can do for your community are great rewards, and they give you a great deal of satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Any plans after retirement or community involvement?
Well, I recently agreed to join a local engineering firm, McMahon Associates. They have a division that provides consulting in public safety and municipal management, and do building inspections and things like that. So I'm going to be heading up that division, and I'll probably do that for a few years as they work through their succession planning. But you're going to see me around. As I was on the League of Municipalities board, one of the things that we had come up with a concept was local school districts have what are called CSAs. They're called Educational Service Agencies. I want to try to create something like that for local governments, and I'm going to be working with the League through my work at McMahon to get that done. So it's something I'm very passionate about, and so I call it a MUSA, a Municipal Services Agency. So I'm going to be working on that in the future, I anticipate.
All right, very good. Well, today we're talking about looking back and sharing some moments here. We have a little video clip for you looking back at some special moments, and we hope you enjoy this.
Oh boy.
I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long.
All right.
Well, Mark, it's wonderful that you've been our city manager, and I personally have very much enjoyed working with you on these programs. And I went away for a few years, and one of the reasons I came back was because you were city manager here, and very happy to have worked with you here. Is there anything that you think you'll be missing about being city manager here?
Oh, you always miss the employees.
Yeah.
The work is municipal government, providing good services, doing good for your community, and a lot of rewards. But talking to people, 600 employees we got.
Yeah.
Don't get to see all of them every day, but I'm going to miss the employees for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say to those employees, residents or officials?
Yeah. Well, I've said this a lot, and I'm always going to say it. It's the trust of the city council, the support of the community, and the dedication of staff. Great staff. Remember, all three are needed to make the community grow. Mm-hmm. So,
the three legs of the stool.
Yeah, we've always talked 3 legs of the stool. That's what I'm going to miss.
Right. Well, I would like to say thank you on behalf of myself, our Oshkosh media staff, city staff, and our Oshkosh residents for your service to the city. Certainly, Oshkosh is a better place thanks to your work here. And honestly, Mark, don't just take it from me. Here's some closing thoughts from our city staff.
Congratulations, Mark. Thanks for everything you've done for me and for the city. Enjoy your retirement and take care.
Thanks for bringing me to Oshkosh 15 years ago to get a lot of projects done here for the city and for the Parks Department. I wish you well. Good luck.
Thank you for your leadership and mentorship over the last 10 plus years in public service. Throughout our time together, we've got a lot of great projects done. Congratulations, and we wish you well.
Congratulations on your retirement, Mark. You'll definitely be missed. Wish you nothing but the best. And thanks for the many bets on the Broncos versus the Browns that you lost. Take care.
Thank you for everything that you've done for us over the last 16 and a half years. I think a big part of where we're standing here today here in field operations, this project doesn't happen without all of your support. So thank you.
Mr. Rohloff, I would just like to say that I've appreciated working with you for the 10 months that I've been here and for the way that you've welcomed me into the city. Thank you, and I believe that your leadership will be greatly missed.
Congratulations, Mark, on your retirement. It's been a pleasure working with you this past year and a half, and good luck on your future endeavors.
Thank you very much for being my city manager for the last 9 years here in the city of Oshkosh. I want to say you are, as I've said many times over, the best city manager I've ever worked for. Congratulations on finishing strong.
I want to thank you for your guidance, your mentorship, and your friendship. You will be greatly missed, but I'm excited for you in the next chapter of your life.
Thank you for being so great to work with, for your kindness and support for the museum and its staff. We wish you the best on this next chapter of your career and your life.
I just wanted to wish you all the best as you step into retirement. Your leadership in Oshkosh has been incredible, and you'll truly be missed. Enjoy the next chapter and all the adventures ahead. Cheers to you.
You and I have spent every second and fourth Tuesday of each month together here for the past 16 years. This is going to be a huge change. I wish you the best on your retirement and enjoy your Tuesday evenings.